Be your authentic self. That's our talk for today. For 2.5 years, I was the assistant minister at Oakland Center for Spiritual Living, and I oversaw the youth program as part of my job description. And there was this phenomenal teen program that was happening. It was just started as I got there, and it just grew and developed over the 2.5 years that I was there. It was led by Claudia LaRoche and Peter Harlan. These teens would come, and they were 13 through 18, out having a great time Saturday night, but they made sure they were at this program at 11 a.m. Many of them, or some of them, parents didn't even go to the church. They would make sure they got dropped off, so they didn't want to miss what was happening there. And I love the way Peter and Claudia held that space with the teens, that it was sacred space. Adults were not allowed in that space. Even I, as the youth director, was not allowed in that space unless I had special permission and I had to get it all signed off on a week or two in advance. They had to vote, let me know. It had to be, they were in charge of their group. And so then I would be allowed to come in and maybe sit in for a while. But other than that, adults were not welcomed. And what was happening in that group was powerful and transformative and healing. It's a space where these beautiful teens could shine their authentic self and knew that no matter what was happening in their life, good or bad, that they were going to be loved and they were going to be accepted and they were seen and heard and valued and cared about. And the program, obviously, was not just on Sundays. There was connection and fun things that happening outside of just Sundays. The real power of this program hit me when we had Youth Sunday. 3 of the girls, teen girls, gave the talk. And the theme for that Sunday, the theme that they chose for their Sunday was, what is love? Or it was just love. And the teens were around 15, 17, and 13. And all 3 of these beautiful young ladies just got up and shared openly, rawly, what was happening in their life. Times where their heart were just broken and devastated. And we know often because they haven't built up all those walls yet, the power of that raw emotion. And all of us listening, our hearts and the walls around our hearts were dissolving as we're listening to these young girls just get up and be able to share so authentically from who they really were. I remember the last speaker, she was a 13-year-old girl. And she wasn't speaking theoretically. She just got up there and she said, I've really struggled with what is love. She was living with her grandmother. She had led a very difficult life. And so in front of a room full of 200 and 300 people, she was asking, I don't know what love is. I haven't seen it or felt it. There's been so much pain. And as she shared her story, we're all crying, and those walls are dissolving. And as she's asking what is love, love is arising from all of us, from everyone in that room. Love was bouncing off the walls. It was overflowing because she was so willing to be raw and authentically herself. She wasn't trying to pontificate. She wasn't trying to teach anything. She wasn't trying to inspire. She was just simply being her beautiful, radiant, authentic self. And in that, there was healing for everyone in that community. And the greatest thing about love and authenticity is when we tap into it, there is no separation. There's no superior or inferior. There's no old people and younger people, those who know more and those who don't more. Once we've tapped into love, it's the great equalizer. We are all on that same playing field. We are all in it together, every single one of us. We're in that room. This service, we had about 200 or 300 people filled with hearts open into infinity. For me, that is being our authentic self. And one reason why those beautiful young ladies could be their authentic self is because they had a place where they could be authentic. They knew if at any point when they got up and shared, if any person was condescending or judged or critical, they knew they had their group that loved them and that had their back, who would see them and love them just as they are. And they knew they were totally accepted by those people. So that gave them the courage to get up in front of 200, 300 strangers and share who they really were. And for me, that is, I was being with it, I thought, that's, to me, why I do ministry. For me, this whole journey is about helping and serving people to become and radiate our authentic self, to allow those walls to dissolve into the nothingness from which they came, and to only allow the beauty and the magnificence of our souls pouring through. On Friday night, we've been having these classes for home group leaders. We're going to be starting home groups in June. The sign-ups are in May. And the entire intention of that is to in essence, have what these teens had, which is to have a group where we can feel safe, where we can let the walls dissolve, and we can be seen and loved and cared for on this incredible journey of life that we are all on. We had another Teen Sunday, and it was very different. The 3 teens that spoke for this Teen Sunday were very much the leaders in both our own teen group as well as in the national teen group. And they spoke from a much different place. It was less about their vulnerabilities as much as their excitement about their dreams, their believing in all the possibilities and the potentialities and creativity and excitement for their future and what they were creating and what they saw as possible for their world and for the world in which they wanted to continue to give and to make a better place. It was alive with power and imagination and creativity and empowerment. And that opened all of our hearts. And that is equally authentic. It is equally authentic to be strong and powerful and creative and vivacious and full of life and dreams and imagination as it is to be soft and caring and gentle and fearful and afraid and sad and hurt and angry. That in fact, our authentic self is all of it. And when we stop being authentic is when we feel like we're supposed to be only one thing. I'm only this. I was looking for readings for this Sunday, and it was interesting looking through so many articles, how different people identified what being authentic was. And a lot of it was very psychological or was according to your talents or gifts. And those are all aspects. But ultimately, I'm in alignment with Buddha that our authentic self defies all borders and labels. Buddha came in and his passion was to get rid of boundaries and walls. This is right, this is wrong, this is what's true. He did not like concepts, he did not like labels, because the true essence of who we are transcends any concept or label. As soon as we have a concept and say, this is who I am, and we have a word for it, we have a category for it, we've just put a limitation on our authentic self. It may be who we are in that moment, but it is never, who we are is never limited to a particular expression that we are shining in any one moment. Who we are is an infinite in our nature, and that's what Buddha came here to open us, to free us from all these little prisons we put ourselves in. We are none of those prisons. It includes all these different roles. It includes all these different expressions and ways of being, but it transcends all of them. In order to really live in that transcendent place, we have to be comfortable with paradox. Buddhism is very comfortable with paradox, because if we only look at only in this world, the good things, then we're cutting off half the world. Or sometimes people get really focused in on what's wrong with the world, and then we're cutting off what's positive. The transcendent includes everything. A visceral experience of this, if you have your bulletin, if you don't, it's okay, or something in your hand that you can just put right in front of your eyes, just put it in front of your eyes right now. If you can, if you have anything that you can just put in front of your eyes. That's what a wall is. A wall can't see the world. The wall blinds us, and we can only see what's in front of us. It limits us. And then if we move the bulletin to the right or to the left, the wall to the right or left, we're only seeing partial. That's what all these walls within our heart and within our consciousness does to us. It blocks us from allowing the fullness of the infinite spirit to pour out and in, to allow the infinite nature of our being. I love the reading this morning from Joel Goldsmith. I'll post it on Facebook because sometimes it's hard to get it the first time auditorily. That we're not in control of our authentic self. We don't make up our authentic self. Our authentic self simply is in this infinite nature. We are making welcome this wonderful infinite self to pour itself through us. And so we are in a constant state of discovery. what is authentically pouring through me today? What is needing to be said or felt or experienced or expressed or given or received today, in this moment, in this hour? It is this wonderful, mysterious, creative, powerful light of life that is always being made brand new in every moment. And we don't make it, we allow it. We allow it to move through us. Is that clear with everyone? So in making it and allowing it through, the thing we want to be sure, though, is that it's spirit. It is the authentic, it is that causal idea, our authentic self that we want to be pouring through us. When we started this community, there are some of you who've been here from the beginning or very close to the beginning, I was pretty much hammered away at spiritual practices. Daily spiritual practices. I like to call it the Center for Spiritual Practices. Because the problem with discipline is such a negative connotation. I actually resonate with Reverend Michael, who calls it a blissipin, because when we do it all the time, it does become blissful. But in practices doesn't mean that we have to be masters at it, because I think sometimes we feel like we need to be masters at it. Practice just allows us to practice every day to connect to that divine presence within us. And that is so essential, because in this world, there's so much energy coming at us that is dualistic all of the time, that is hypnotizing us over and over, and we've been born in it, so we're very susceptible to it. Every one of us is susceptible to the hypnotism. And so we feel it through all the technology and all the things that are coming through the technology, and the information, and our family's beliefs, and our culture's beliefs, and our nation's beliefs, and the world's beliefs, and our best friends' beliefs. That all of it is impacting us all of the time, every single day. And it's because people and technology is coming at us, we have to, it's stronger. I would say it's stronger than anything that we're doing, unless we are passionate about doing our spiritual practices every day. Those practices, meditation, prayer, reading, journaling, exercising, those practices that are continually connecting us with that divine source. There is no substitute for this. So we're doing the home groups. That's our next step in helping nurture being our authentic self, this extraordinary journey of allowing ourselves to be naked and safe, simply by being who we are, without the walls, without all the need to protect ourselves, to defend ourselves. Because every time we protect ourselves, we are also putting a wall up to how much light we can shine out there. And our desire, our deepest soul desire, is to be seen for who we really are. Most people, when I talk with them, what they want is to be seen for who they really are. I want you to see my real soul. We want to be seen. We want to be seen. And the way we get seen are for these walls to dissolve. So we have these home groups to support us in letting those walls dissolve so we can be seen. But we have the spiritual practices, because those are something we do every single day. And we don't need a group. We don't need an organization. We don't need anything other than our own commitment to doing these spiritual practices. We can meditate. We can pray anywhere. We can journal anywhere. You can go for walks anywhere. You don't need any external condition to give yourself to this interior work, and it's in the interior. Every mystic teaches us over and over that this transcendent self, this queendom of heaven, is within us. It's not going to be discovered out there. These are the conditions of life that go up and down, but the sustained level of bliss, the sustained creative vitality of joy, of love, of peace, is all happening inside of us. And if we are not connecting with it, and here's an interesting thing. No one's going to actually care whether we're doing our spiritual practices or not. Now, our loved ones might care because we get grumpier when we don't do the spiritual practices. But that's really for their own self-preservation. But ultimately, no one's going to come up. At least I don't do it with you, and you don't do it with me, so I'm just, okay, maybe you do it. So to say that, Jack and I, generally, I don't find couples saying, have you done your spiritual practices today? Because that's just naggy, right? It's not my job for the people who I love to ask them to do spiritual practices. So ultimately, it's up to us individually. Am I doing my spiritual practices every day? The discovery of that transcendent self is completely up to us as individuals. We go to these groups to help inspire us, to remind us to continue to do this work. But what the world will be on us about is you need to buy my car, you need to have this kind of life, you need to think these thoughts, you need to feel these ways. We get lots of that bombardment at us all of the time about what we should be. But very little of that bombardment is saying, be your authentic self and listen to yourself. You don't have to listen to anybody else but yourself. And that's what these spiritual practices are for. This rigorous commitment every single day to touch that transcendent presence within us. I heard this wonderful quote this past week, because I also want to say that can seem extremely self-absorbed if we don't realize that when we continue to touch that transcendent self within us, and the walls are coming down because we feel safe, we know we're the kingdom of heaven, the light starts to shine out, and we start to give more to the world. Someone posted a 2-hour panelist discussion on social justice. I didn't have time to listen to a lot of it, but I skimmed through it, and every time I stopped, it was great stuff. But it was the last two things that really caught my attention. Reverend David Alexander said, we want to wake up. We want to be self-realized. But that's not the end goal. The end goal is a world that works for everybody. It's heaven on earth. We're not just in it for ourselves. We are in it for everybody. We are here to give of ourselves. So this desire to be authentic, just as we saw in that 13-year-old girl who opened everybody's heart, those 3 young ladies, they opened everybody's heart. Their authenticity completely set everybody else free to be authentic in that moment. And what are we being authentic about? The love that we all are inherently. So the more we get to be authentic, the more we feel strong in our transcendent self and that authentic love, we set other people to discover this transcendent love at the same time. It's the greatest service we can perform. And so he said that the ultimate goal is not just enlightenment, but a world that works for everyone. And then the person that followed him, and I didn't totally catch his name, I think it was Munir, he said something that really stuck with me. He said, I can't give all the service that the world needs. I can't give all the service that the world needs. But the world needs all the service that I can give. But the world needs all the service that I can give. Everything that I can shine as an authentic being. The world needs each and every one of us to be doing that. We need each other to be shining our authentic light. We need each other to be doing our spiritual practices in groups that make us feel safe enough and strong enough so we can go out into the world shining that authentic light, setting other people free and being a lighthouse for other people. I want to share once again a story of Eddie Hillisman, who is a heroine of mine. I've spoken about her once or twice, but not as much as I should, because she's an extraordinary woman. I just happened to come across an article that I had from years ago, and then I was looking through books, and there was her book. And then Jack and Julian were in Santa Cruz last week, and every time I go someplace, I like to go to the local bookstore to buy a book. And this way, on the way to the bookstore, there was this guy with a bicycle and a dog in his back. He was selling books, self-published books, and it turns out he was a rabbi. And I ended up buying it because, of course, I had to buy this book. He, in his imagination, created these dinner dialogues with people that he admired. So it was also a cookbook of these different dinners, but then he had imaginary conversations with leaders of light that inspired him about different values. And so I was scrolling through his book, and at the very end, he's Eddie Hillisman. And I said, oh, Eddie Hillisman. And he was surprised that I knew who she was. And in that moment, this is just how a person can impact you. We just suddenly saw each other, this beautiful rabbi and I. Her light opened both of our hearts, and we just had this wonderful connection. And I'm like, Julian, I'm buying this book. This is where we belong. Eddie Hillisman, she was born and raised in the Netherlands. By 27, she had a law degree, and she knew Slavic languages, very accomplished young lady. And then she, at around 27, but also had a very difficult, chaotic childhood. So she's wanting to do inner work. So she starts working with a psychologist. It seems like he was also doing a lot of Jungian work. Jungian does a lot of sort of archetypal work, soul work, as well as psychological work. And she's really digging deep within herself, finding out how to bring balance to her very disorderly inner world. And her diaries are about this discovery. The thing that makes her an extraordinary woman is that this was happening in 1941 in Amsterdam, and she was Jewish. So she's now working with the Jewish Council, and thousands of Jews are coming through a place called Westerbork as they go on to concentration camps. And she's there working with the Jewish families. She's extraordinary because she can simultaneously serve and write about the horrors of what she's seeing. These little babies that she's trying to keep alive, and the terrible pain and suffering that she's giving herself continually to. And at the same time, she'll say, and God is so beautiful. I can see how these two women are just sitting on a bench talking, and the jasmine over in the corner blessing us with some fragrance. That all this inner work that she was doing in discovering the kingdom of heaven, the divine inner wellspring of light and of love started to infuse everything that she was doing. Even though she looked at horror and fear from the Nazi soldiers, at the same time she was working and seeing them dispassionately and who they really were behind these masks, these roles they were playing. She was constantly working on seeing God in everything that she was doing. And over, the word tenderness comes up as she's working with people, and her desire is to bring joy and light in the midst of all this suffering. And she said, we have to accept there's just a mass murder happening, that they're not going to be happy until there's a total extinction of the Jewish people, and I just have to accept that this is where it's going. But in the midst of this, I'm going to find the light and the love that is transcendent, that isn't defined or limited by the circumstance and the condition I'm in. And never once did she would share authentically the pain and the suffering, but never felt victimized by it because of this deep inner work that she's doing every single day. The meditation, the journaling, looking at where's the hell in me, where's the evil in me. She's working on finding healing. Everything is about healing within our own interior life, so that when she goes out into the world, she goes out as light. And she gave light to every person with whom she come in contact. She was a blessing. That is authentic being. Regardless of situation and circumstance, she was shining and authentically sad when she was sad, and seeing the light and the beauty of pure transcendence when that was alive and awake for her. She never limited. She was completely, the people who were writing about, I was reading an essay about her, she was completely comfortable with the pairs of opposites, with the beauty of pure spirit in the midst of the hell in which she was operating, and she could live with that with her heart wide open. She was in touch with her authentic, transcendent self, unlimited, free, in the midst of all of life, and it was not to be something separated. She had an opportunity to go in hiding, and she chose not to. She said, no, I'm here to be of service to my people. I am here to give and to participate the light that I have, and she intentionally was working with people to find the light within them. If they only realize the incredible light that's indwelling in their temple, regardless of what's happening. I'd like to end with this little bit of prayer that she offered in her writing. It was written on August 18th, 1943, and she was killed in Auschwitz 3 months later. You have made me so rich, O God. Please let me share out your beauty with open hands. My life has become an uninterrupted dialogue with you, O God, one great dialogue. Sometimes when I stand in some corner of the camp, my feet planted on your earth, my eyes raised towards your heaven, tears sometimes run down my face, tears of deep emotion and gratitude. At night, too, when I lie in my bed and rest, in you, O God, tears of gratitude run down my face, and this is my prayer. I have been terribly tired for several days, but that too will pass. Things come and go at a deeper rhythm, and people must be taught to listen to it. It is the most important thing we have to learn in this life. Oh God, my life is one great dialogue with you. I may never become the great artist I would really like to be, but I am already secure in you, God. Sometimes I try my hand at turning out small profundities and uncertain short stories, but I always end up with just one single word, God. And that says everything, and there is no need for anything more. And all my creative powers are translated into inner dialogues with you. The beat of my heart has grown deeper, more active, and yet more peaceful. And it is as if I were all the time storing up inner riches. The kingdom of heaven is within. Every moment that we have is precious. May we use it to connect with that transcendent self within us. May that be our highest priority every single day of our life. And from that connection, may the walls of separation dissolve. May the walls of protection and otherness dissolve into the nothingness from which we came, so we can shine authentically in our own interior world and out into the world everywhere we go. May this day forward, we go forward in, through, and as our authentic being. Let's pray. We are one. In this room, there are no walls. There's nothing that separates us. And as these walls dissolve, we feel that transcendent I am that is the center of our being, that has called us before time ever began. This I am presence that is continually in every moment calling itself into a unique expression as each of us in this room. Not through our will or effort, but through our attention and our willingness to allow the I am to speak its voice, to share its tenderness, to share its heart and its love and its vitality and its joy and its creativity and its caress with every moment, with every experience, with every condition and every circumstance. We are free. And in this freedom, we are free from all constraints of even time and space. So even as we hear of extraordinary beings that have walked this planet Earth, like Eddie Hillisman, we know that she is with us now. And there are so many beings who have shined their light and who we don't know their names, and yet they were essential in their time and in their place, shining their authentic self, letting the light of infinite spirit to pour through them to bless and heal others, even as they were being healed moment by touching that transcendent I am. This is who we are today. This is who we were yesterday, and this is who we are tomorrow. There are no walls. There are no walls in time. There are no walls in space. Love knows no death. Love knows no limit. Love is authentically expressing itself in all of its ways and all of its expressions here and now, as everyone in this room, in all aspects of our life, in our relationships. We feel all those relationships, those places where we want to have walls, we feel like we need walls. And yet we see beyond that. We choose to know that there is a power greater than anything that feels fearful or dangerous. We stand in that through our everyday practices. Whatever the conditions and circumstances that seem overwhelming to us, we turn our attention to the divine wellspring within us, even as we are right now, and knowing that nothing has greater power than this first cause, I am presence of our being, and we claim and accept that in areas of health. We claim and accept the I am presence, that transcendent state of being in the places of our financial good, our work life, our community life, our family life with our friends, as citizens of this planet. This I am presence is the source of all of our authentic expressions in this world. We are a healing place even as we are healed ourselves. What is love? It is who we are. It is who we are when all the walls are dissolved, when all the separation is dissolved. We are love itself, beyond concept, simply our authentic state of being, breath by breath, and every moment in between. We are it now. We breathe into it. We let go. We let go. And we let go. There is only love. There is only love. There is only love. Thank you, God. I release this word now into the law of love, as love, in love, knowing it is done. And I invite us all to say together as this love, and so it is. Amen.